Hey, it's JC1424 once again with another album review, and today we're going to be talking about the second pop/pop rock album by the hard rock band Theory of a Deadman, or as they are now simply known, Theory. The reason why they go by this name now is because Tyler Conley at some point in an interview said he was tired of writing out Theory of a Deadman all the time, because it's just very long. But it was probably worth it to have that name, because if you listen to rock music, you're more likely to recognize that name than Theory. And while they're trying to take a pop direction, there's not so many people that listen to pop music that will hear Theory and like, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. The lead single from their last album, Wake Up Call, in 2017, is their most popular song to date. It was 10 times more successful than anything they had released in the past 15 years. If you don't know that, then, I was unaware of it until recently whenever I looked back on it. But yes, that was RX Medicate. I didn't even like that song very much when it came out. I actually hated it. But now I've just kind of accepted it because I understand how important it can be to people with the subject matter. And the reason why this new album is called Say Nothing, and actually came out way back at the beginning of 2020, it's given this name because it's written on subject matter that Tyler Conley is not used to writing about because he hasn't felt comfortable with it. So regardless whether it's a hit or miss, all these tracks here, I just want to say that I'm proud of him for giving this a shot and going this far. Wake Up Call though, that album I wasn't expecting to even like, but I loved it through and through. There were some songs that I either hated or didn't really care for that much, but there was just a bunch of stuff that really hit a happiness chord with me. I mean, Straight Jacket is catchy, well written, nice hook. The chorus is beautiful, and that's the best I can say about it. Without feeling trapped in a relationship that's toxic because you don't want to leave because you're kind of addicted to the satisfaction that you can temporarily get from it. And then there's Wake Up Call, the title track, which is something I can actually relate to right now. I'm living in a hotel, but it ain't home. Then there's Time Machine, which was my second favorite song on that album. And there's Goat. Glass Jaw wasn't really that good of a rock song, but it was like the one actual rock song of the album. Echoes was nice, although the music video was really cheesy. And there was a bunch of other stuff in there that I really liked right off the bat. I got to admit, I usually just don't even enjoy the recording process of doing album reviews. And then the same thing with the note-taking process. Just because it can be a little mentally exhausting. And sometimes it gets emotional and just ruins my whole freaking day. Because I hate the thought of having to do all this shit and memorizing notes, and it drives me insane. So I'm just gonna wing it. And I'll look at the notes, the camera, and I'll do my best. But first song on this album is Black Hole in Your Heart. And it starts off this one just like Straight Jacket did for Wake Up Call. It has the traditional song purpose of an unhealthy relationship with someone that takes more than they give. So, toxic relationship song. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because I love Straight Jacket, but if they just do the exact same thing again and it's not as good as that or better, then it's like, what the heck is the point of it in the end? This sounds like a guy version of Britney Spears stuff from 20 years ago. And I wouldn't say that about Straight Jacket just because I think they adapted more to things that were going on in pop and rap music back in 2017 when they made that one. But they got a couple violins here, the rap attitude paired with some vocal harmonies. It's bouncy and staccato. I like a little bit of that every now and then. And then you got the slight edge of guitar and drums.
It ain't hysteria, it ain't mysterious. You are bacteria, infection serious. Your blood is colder than an Arctic polar bear.
The second song on this album is History of Violence, and this was the lead single. And I guess the best way to put all this into perspective is that RX Medicate was a great choice lead single for their last album in 2017. But I just didn't like it that much. It wasn't for me, with the whistling and the wah-ohs across the album as well. But this one, on the other hand, I like it more, but it doesn't feel like it's good single material, so it's not hitting 2 and 2. I mean, while this is good for me, it's not good for their reputation, and then on the other album, it was really good for them. 10 times more popular than anything else they'd ever released. This one really enters the theme of this album, of course, and it's very emotional and echoey, too. It tells the tale of a victim of domestic abuse saving herself by shooting and killing her husband. And to that, I have to say, I don't blame someone for making the decision of killing their spouse whenever mentally and emotionally they feel trapped. Like they don't know what to do to get themselves out of this hole. Because they don't want to be with them anymore. They don't want them to go on and do the same thing to someone else. They feel like they won't get enough time in prison. They won't be there forever. and according to the song, she spends like 20 years in a women's prison. And I just got finished watching Orange is the New Black, so that puts some of the backstories in perspective with this song right here. It just happens to coincide, to be honest. It's got this beautiful acoustic guitar loop paired with some chill, organic percussion. That is something I love in pop music, is whenever they use organic instrumentation and not all this synthetic keyboard crap. The chorus doesn't truly fulfill its purpose in this song until the end, when this amazing bridge comes in and just brings such a climatic instrumentation into the song.
Promised her diamonds for silence. It's the history of violence. The city's on fire. The streets are riot.
Track 3 is Affluenza, and this has to be my favorite on the album, with an emotional and serious tone, but somewhat of a sarcastic message. For those who don't know, Affluenza, not to be confused with influenza, is whenever you're so rich and spoiled growing up that you cannot comprehend that, the consequences of your actions whenever you do something stupid, that your life is not more important than someone else's just because of who you are and where you come from or some crap. But the reverbed, vibrant vocal audio is beautiful in this song, and it honestly just gives me the chills. The percussion and slide guitar have a slow build here until it's brought to light that our parents bend over backwards so we can have nice things as kids. And some people forget that some people get nothing, so we get a little something, and so it'll be a bunch of stuff. And that does not mean that you can ridicule someone else just because they're beneath you as far as what they have, because they're not ever really beneath you. These are just things. We're all just skin and flesh in the end.
Just buying things we can't afford, and barely getting by. Should we thank the Lord for all the things that we don't have?
Say Nothing is, of course, the title track for this album, and that is the 4th song here. We got a really nice, mesmerizing transition into this track from the last one, which has an acoustic loop that I personally find rather bland. It's just, doom ba doom ba doom, doom ba doom ba doom, doom ba doom ba doom, and it's from start to finish, and then it's in the background for the rest of the way, and it's just really not that special. But I do admire the bells and the bass drum that come in later on for the beginning of the song. While I feel the internal conflict in the lyrics, to be frank, the verses seem to be sung rather lazily. And that's something I could say in some places on this album. It's just, you can sing something soft and emotionally without it just being lazy and sound effortless. There's other places where he just sings his heart out and it's awesome. But if the lyrics suck, then it can just be deemed as whiny by me. It's all subjective. But then there's spoken word sections we'll talk about later. I hate whenever he just says things, because it doesn't sound right whenever Tyler Connolly does it. Other artists, they can pull it off, maybe, but no, not here. But this is a song about heartbreak and lack of communication when needed most, and that is something that reflects the whole album. That is why it's the title track, of course, is that people want to keep the dirty laundry from being talked about and shush, let's not bring this stuff up into regular conversation, but now is the time whenever we tell those people that don't have to deal with it to shut up and have a listening experience, and that's what this album is.
What do you want me to do? Tell you how I feel, or just let you go? I fucked it up and everything's my fault, 'cause I said nothing.
Track 5 is Strangers, and this was the single that really pushed me away. There's an instance where the drums just blatantly rip off Phil Collins, and it's funny because as I was writing those notes right there, that song was playing on the radio, so that did not help either. I mean, it's a nice drum fill in the Air Tonight by Phil Collins, and Kamikaze used to listen to Theory of a Dead Man, and he loves Phil Collins, so I don't know if it's a good thing if they just keep throwing that drum fill into their music. It doesn't just happen once on this album. I find the singer's intonation appalling on this song, and that's something I was also talking about in the last track, is that I want him to sing with a voice that's not him pretending to be someone that he's not, and to be trying. And then there's a spoken word section, and that makes it even worse because it doesn't even resonate very well. Then there's the lyrics here which want to express being upset with something. Obviously, how we're all on our phones these days, and then we're not really communicating with each other, so we don't have chemistry as a community, and blah, 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 while the guitar tone is really high and faux cheerful. That works in emo rock, My Chemical Romance, because they're going on about mental health. It's like, I'm okay, I'm perfectly fine, I couldn't possibly be losing my shit right now. But instead, this is about society, and this is supposed to be serious, and it don't make sense.
What more can I really do? Just goes on and on and on. to put up a fight.
Track 6 is Ted Bundy. A smooth jazz rock track with a dirty guitar loop, hard kick, and trumpets that do not let me down. And I think they might be muted. You know, they take the thing, they stick it in the bell, and it makes it a little more cranky sounding. And the vocal style here is unique because it reminds me of some of those female singers, performers that you hear in like classic music from New Orleans or whatever. There's a beautiful twist of bittersweet harmony in the chorus and the progressions of this song. And it's just almost kind of sadistic, if not entirely sadistic, that it's called Ted Bundy. That doesn't feel like maybe, I guess it was 50 years ago now. It's still a pretty bad thing. I mean, he killed like 30 women or 30 people. I don't freaking know. I haven't looked back through that much of history, but I know who he was. I know his name. Do we say too soon or not? But I guess it helps fit the album. I really like this song. I think I would call it a 10 out of 10 if it wasn't called Ted Bundy. There's something that just...
Baby, you know that I love you to death, but I'm never gonna see you again. Baby, you know.
The seventh song on this album is World Keeps Spinning, and this is probably the saddest song on the whole record. It relates well to how 2020 played out, even for my life right now, because I'm 3 hours from home and not getting to see my family but every like 2 weeks because I can only afford to be out here. There ain't much back at home after the hurricane destroyed shit. There's less work, and finding places to live is more expensive than supply and demand, and everyone looking for something. The verses on this one come out bitter and upset by having a lazy tone, but with more attitude. There's echoing whistles throughout this one that provide a lost and spooked vibe, which, I mean, I could definitely say I feel depressed or lost in my head or like I'm in the middle of nowhere sometimes just because of this situation. The piano and percussion are on a bit of a mopey loop all throughout this song, though. It doesn't help much because it's not like it's all that special. It's just there to be sad while the rest of the song already is.
I don't know what to do. Yeah, I just wanna scream. I don't mean shit to you. I ain't a human being. I miss my mom. I miss my friends. I miss it all.
In case you were wondering, I really took my time with this album. I mean, but can you blame me? Because the album came out in January of this year, and it's December now, but the whole year has been this inconsistent roller coaster. I mean, I went from living at my mom's house, getting laid off, and then I got back to work after like a few months, and then I was able to move out, and then the apartment got destroyed a month later. So I'm in a hotel, and trying to figure out, how my life is going to be for the next few months, and now I'm calm with where I am, and chill and all that. Track 8 is Quicksand, and I just got the notes of this song written last week. Other ones were like 8 months ago I got the notes done. So, yeah, this is some fresh information here. This is the good stuff. This one comes from the perspective of a whole life doomed to failure, much like the lead single History of Violence, except this one is about being orphaned at a young age and then never truly accepted. So, you make mistakes, and then you go from one parent or family to another. And I know people who personally, they live a life like this, and I pray that their life doesn't turn out the way that the person, the tale that this song's about goes. But it begins with a very dry and dull tribal section that stays underneath the rest of the way. And I feel like if you can get some people to critically talk about your music while you're making it, you can avoid having a song doomed to failure. I hate to have to say that again in the same clip, but it's like if it starts that way and then it's always there, the song can never be as good as it should be. Does it sound like crap, or does it sound really good? And just ask people that don't always just love everything you do, and you can wind up having songs at least like Black Hole in Your Heart or History of Violence, even other songs that most people like. But Tyler's voice, I will say, makes the chorus very angelic, along with the violin and thunderous drums in the song throughout the verses. But aside from some iffy pop sound choices, what really drives me up the wall is that damn drum lead in again. The one from the midnight romantic Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight.
Been falling in quicksand all alive, broken forehand to bowl around, just trying to leave this world behind.
White Boy is the 9th song on this album, and it's evident from the introduction that this song is on the topic of the Charlottesville Virginia terrorist car attack that happened in like 2017 or 2016, so over 3 years ago. But stuff like that was happening a lot back then, the protests in the streets, and even more so this year. More violence, more protests, peaceful and non-peaceful, looting, etc. And it was worse this year than it was back then, but I think we still had tremendous losses back then as well. And they made the decision to go for a peaceful approach with this song, which is something that I approve of, that we should all be joining hands and staying together. And he puts it into perspective like, this is what I am, what I look like, and what I've got to say, but it's important, that it's who we are, and for the most part, we're all the same. We're all the same in the sense, like, it doesn't matter, what we look like or where we're from. We're all people, and in that sense, we should have unity for it. Hopefully we can all be agreed on that. Regardless, that doesn't change that the vocals on this song are just weak, and I've said that before in some places. The percussion is quite simple here, and this choir stuff that we also had at the beginning of the last song continues to be subpar. I think there was some song on the Wake Up Call album in 2017 that had some choir section at the beginning, and it was beautiful. It was well recorded. It was well in tune. Here is just kind of sloppy on both of the past couple songs.
Ain't no sinner, ain't no saint, just a white boy spitting slang. Ain't no problem, ain't no thing to me, 'cause we all the same.
I don't even know where to begin with this one. Track 10 is called It's All Good. It's all good, guys. The album ends off with a straight up, terribly annoying country song. No other song in this album went with this sound to begin with. You know that much. They take the rap pop instrumental, throw in some acoustic guitar and chill. We're doing this shit Florida Georgia line style. And they do some cheap whiny pandering, of course, and he's singing, I'm a drunk cowboy, baby, and I suck at relationships. The end. You did it. You done nailed it. Great job. You totally nailed the subject matter and the theme of the album. All these other songs, we hear songs like this on the radio at 6 in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, whenever everyone's leaving the bar. They could pick someone up, and they can't pay their next bill, their next rent or some shit. And they run out of gas in the middle of the highway. I mean, what? This is... Also, I wrote this down. I literally wrote, if you need me, I'll be ASMRing. What does that even mean? That's the dumbest lyric across the whole album. It makes no sense. Yeah, I've heard rocked. He said, monkey see, monkey do, monkey me, monkey you. I know it's kind of corny, but what the fuck is that? That makes no sense. Who says I'll be ASMRing? No. You lost me. All the sensitive subject matter and all the stuff that they talk about in this album because not enough people want to talk about it and they shied away from it and they finally went for it, and then this comes in here. Whenever they make an album about all that shit, how do you end it off with this? It ain't got anything to do with it. Sound-wise, it just don't even fit in. Well, it's worst song on the album. I gave it a 4 out of 10. So I enjoyed 40% of the song. The other 60%, that was a lot of damage. But my final score for the 2020 album by Theory, or Theory of a Dead Man as it used to be known, is a 77%, which is a C-. I'm telling you, if they didn't put this song on the album, they just put something else that thematically fit in, at the least, it would have been at least a neutral C, maybe even a C+. And that's pretty good for the genre of music that they're experimenting with. I mean, this is just so close to a D. You don't want to be a D. You want to have a D, but you don't want to be a D. Oh my goodness. This song came up, and in some places, while I didn't fully appreciate the way they were making the music, I understood that they were taking what they were writing seriously, and they were trying to do something important and try to make good change in the world, and this, okay, well, thanks for watching and listening to me talk about the new Theory album. I have to admit, I liked Wake Up Call significantly more, and I still do. Although it didn't go on such an important path for what they were writing about, it's just, it sounded better, and there were songs that really comforted me very well. And it's not that I have anything wrong with being out of my comfort zone or some shit. It's like, I live some of this stuff. It's just, recording-wise, I didn't feel like they tried very hard to, be original with some of their sounds. Too much Phil Collins crap, and then this country pandering. I think I would have given Wake Up Call, like, a solid B at best. But, yeah, that's it. See you next time. That's that, and album review over.
It all started on a Saturday night.